Hey dudes and dudettes, for today's Nostalgia Fix, we are looking at what I think are the most fun, nostalgic Sega Genesis games. Chances are, this list is going to be much different than what you were expecting. Don't worry, there won't be any super skid marks on this list. Okay, but seriously though, I hear that's actually a good game. But even so, the comment section on a game like this does not disappoint. So just a quick example about why this list is different. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 isn't even on this list. I know, perish the thought. Allow me to explain. This is not a list of absolute best Genesis games according to most consensus. Consensi? Anyway, according to most people. This is very much my personal view on the best Genesis has to offer. And while I love Sonic 2 and think it's a better achievement than Sonic 1, well, Sonic 1 was my very first experience with a Sega Genesis. It's the one I remember most fondly. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, Sonic 1 is on this list. But what you don't know is what spot it lands on, so you'll just have to keep watching. Haha, viewer retention. Now some of these games haven't necessarily aged well. In fact, some of them feel downright archaic at times. However, these are the games I grew up with, and they have a special place in my heart. Fortunately, most of these are gaming gems, and I come back to play them time and time again. Number 10, Mario Lemieux Hockey. What? What is this game? Yeah, I know. Back when we got our Genesis, my older sister was really into hockey. We were only allowed to pick up one game for the system, and it's really the only one she cared about. Is NHL 94 vastly superior? Sure. But at least this one let you get into fistfights, so there's that. I do have fond memories of playing two-player mode with my sister, and both of us laughing at how terrible we were with the controls. Number 9, Batman. This game isn't actually half bad. In fact, I'd call it a Genesis hidden gem. Sunsoft made it, so the music is really catchy, the gameplay is pretty smooth, and it has that dark and moody tone that Batman is known for. For a movie licensed game, this actually is one of the best for its time. It still holds up, honestly. Number 8, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. This is another game that's actually really timeless. I know, it's Puyo Puyo with a Sonic Team skin, but that doesn't keep it from being a ton of fun with another player. And I do recommend playing this with a friend and not the CPU. The CPU is not your friend. It will make you want to throw your controller through the TV. Number 7, Mega Turrican. For how many consoles the Turrican series showed up on, I'm surprised how many people don't know about these games. My absolute favorite version is on the Genesis, or Mega Drive if you so prefer. It's like a friendlier version of Contra mixed with a little Bionic Commando since you have that handy grapple. This also has some of the best music on the Genesis. Just take a listen. Number 6, Shinobi III. I actually played this game later on in my life, but you know what? It holds up surprisingly well. It also reminds me of when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s and ninjas were everything. This game takes it a step further and lets you surf while doing ninja things. Surf Ninjas. Yes, it's a 90s movie. It's real, look it up. And just take a look at how killer this game showcased the Genesis Blast Processor graphics. Totally tubular. If you haven't tried this one, there's no time like the present. Number 5, OutRun 2019. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you probably thought by the year 2019, most cars would either have a hover mechanic or they would have rocket propulsion. I mean, I guess we did get cars that can self-drive, so there's that. Joking aside, this is actually my favorite racer on the Genesis, and it had rocket propulsion. The original OutRun is probably more nostalgic to most people, and I love that one too. But again, this was the one I had, and there was something about hitting that rocket boost at the right time that was so satisfying. Not to mention the beautiful cityscapes in the background, and sometimes the road even became see-through. Because don't you know that in the future, roads will be made out of the same stuff sky bridges are? What could go wrong? Number 4, Sonic the Hedgehog. Alright, so now you know what place Sonic 1 is in. Many of you probably feel that any Sonic game deserves the number 1 spot, and I won't argue with the reasoning behind that. The blue blur is well known for a reason. There are times I'd rather play Sonic than Mario. Yeah, I said it. Come at me, Mario bro.
Oh no!
The quick story behind this game is that I had just moved from California to Utah back in the early 90s. I had my then aging Nintendo and no friends. A kid up the hill invited me to his nice house. They had a trampoline and a Sega Genesis. What child could resist? They even had an Atari Jaguar console. Remember those? Anyways, it was just the beginning of a new friendship as me and this kid played Sonic 1 in his room for hours at a time. Because of this game, I switched teams from Nintendo to Sega for years. That is until the Nintendo GameCube came out. Number 3, Castlevania Bloodlines. This was Sega's Castlevania, and you know what? In many aspects, I prefer this to Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo. For starters, you get 2 characters to choose from for 2 different playthroughs. I think the music is better overall in this title. The art style and the color palette are also unique among all other Castlevanias. This is just a fun and tight playing game all the way through. There are some difficulty spikes to be certain, but at this point, that's a staple of this series. I've beaten this one several times, and I'll come back for some more. Number 2, RoboCop vs. Terminator. This may seem like an odd choice for a lot of you out there. Many of you probably didn't even know this game existed. I got this game before I even knew game reviews and gaming magazines were a thing. It was totally a pick, based on box art alone. As I mentioned earlier, when we first got our Genesis as a family, sometime in 1994, we were allowed to pick out one game only. And since all I could do was look at the box art, well, I knew that I liked Terminators, and RoboCop was cool too, and given the fact I had already beaten Sonic 1 many times, well, this was the logical conclusion. Fortunately for me, this wasn't one of those total duds. It's actually a great side-scrolling shooter and has the added strategy of picking the right weapon for enemy encounters, kind of like Mega Man. The sound is particularly nice in this game. One of the things that plagued Genesis games a lot is the sound effects sounded like a lactose-intolerant person after a milkshake. But not this game. It sounded amazing, like a movie theater inside my Genesis console. Plus, at the time, these graphics were just cutting edge. I'll still play this game to this day. And finally, number 1, Streets of Rage 2. Not only is this the best beat-em-up on the Genesis, there are many who feel this is the best beat-em-up to this very day. While I might not go that far, there is no doubt in my mind this is the best Genesis game for me, and many other people, in fact. It just got so much right for a game in this genre. More variety, more weapons, more levels, better music. It's just pure arcade-style fun. If you don't have fun playing this game, at least a little, then you technically don't have a pulse and need to get that checked out. This may even be the game that tipped the scales from going out to the arcade to staying home and feeling like the arcade was already there. Who knows? Alright, that's it everyone. I want to give a special thanks to Gilly McPatty for suggesting I make this video. And with that, have a totally awesome day.
That was some seriously good nostalgia. But remember friends, it's also important to make new memories with your loved ones.
Do, 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 do.